Welcome to MSP 1337. I'm your host, Chris Johnson, a show dedicated to cybersecurity challenges, solutions, a journey together, not alone. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of MSP 1337. I'm joined this week by none other than Charles Love of ShowTech Solutions. Charles, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you being here.
I think one could argue that we might need to have some badging for when I have Charles on, because the cadence, I think, while somewhat random, tends to be about once a month. So maybe we need to have it we could just have like the Music Factory as the logo, so it's CNC. I don't know.
There you go.
So you brought up a good idea for a topic today. I think the best way to describe it is, are we sending too many emails? And whether we're sending too many or not, how do we know if they're being read? And if they are or are not being read, is the action that we're expecting of them being taken? So too many emails, not enough emails. I'll figure out a label for it, but I don't know. I just, what you shared with me kind of made me pause in my tracks a little bit.
Yeah, it's almost like automation isn't always the answer, right? It's
Sure.
just there's got to be human behind it, right? So I'll kind of explain to everybody what I have uncovered as as my role has been changing here at ShowTech. I'm getting out of the day-to-day, let's call it the weeds, and I'm really starting to focus back on the operational side of the company. uh, Making sure that the things that we do, we're doing them the right way, right? Makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Follow the
and
process.
yeah. So I'm trying to revamp our processes, our procedures, try to figure out. My favorite line is, did the person fail the process or the process fail the person? Right. So I'm really focusing on that. And this month's focus has been our security awareness system. I've kind of been living in a false sense of reality with our security awareness system because in my brain, it sends out an email every month and it goes, "Hey, Chris, you have not taken your assigned course." So in my brain, I just assume you would do it,
Right.
right? And when you don't do it, you get a message next month. "Hey, Chris, this course is still pending." And then every month after that. What
So
also
this starts
happens.
to multiply then too. If I have then the following month I don't take that training, now I'm getting two emails a month for two not taking courses.
Well, so our system, it's a little bit different. So we do one yearly training. It's about an hour long, and it's broken into six sections, and they can do them over a short amount of time. And then we also send out 50 to 2 minute videos, right?
Okay.
We call them security shorts. Those are more ancillary, like, you know, don't buy gift cards at Walmart for, you know, your friend, that kind of stuff.
That's that you just met online.
Yeah. And I always laugh when I'm at the register because like I was at Walmart the other day and there's a big sign. It says, "Do not buy gift cards for people you do not physically know." And it said physically, so that kind of made me laugh.
Right.
Right, because that's what people do. They buy gift cards because their boss,
And of
you
course
know.
they always tell you like make sure that you walk to Best Buy to get the gift
Yeah,
card. Like, and I always
exactly.
wondered, like, when my mom shared that with me, I'm like, I wonder why they suggested that you walk there. Like, why would you not drive there? And then I got to
Yeah,
thinking, like, they're not just profiling her from a vulnerable state of being, you know, what is it called? Gullible.
yep,
But they also have age profiled and said, well, probably can't drive anymore. I get that. I figured out they live in a big city, like they're in an urban area, like Best Buy or some of those box stores might be relatively close. So I started processing, like, okay, maybe this does make sense a little more than I originally gave it credit. But yeah, it's crazy
yeah.
what people are willing to do, that they think they are under authority from someone they trust to go and buy gift cards, that because that seems like a logical thing to do.
The amount of people who fall for it is just, it's sad, but I get it.
But
So
it's always gift cards that are, like can be used almost anywhere, right? Like it's not like, hey, could you go get me three $50 gift cards for Red Lobster? Like that's not the kind of gift cards they're asking
No.
you to get.
Yeah, yeah. It's like Amazon, it's,
Yeah. Visa
Walmart, that kind of
cards.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So going back to the thing,
Yeah.
so in my brain, if the employees are getting the notices and we have a liaison at every customer, it could be the office manager, it could be the CEO, kind of depends on the customer,
Well,
right?
as we were talking about before, this is the primary point of contact for that client. They're like
Yes.
in CompTIA world, we call them the yes record.
Yeah, absolutely. So so the system tattles on all the employees. It says, hey,
Sure.
Charles and Chris have not taken their test yet.
Right.
Or
Right.
haven't taken the course. So in my brain, that's enough, right? And I have learned that that is completely incorrect. So what we have started to do, we started this a couple of weeks ago, is every month we're now starting to reach out through email to set up a call because we try to have monthly, quarterly cadence calls with
Sure.
customers. They just don't want it, right? So we try to do what we can do. But what I've done is I've built a process and for the account management team to eyeball these reports. And depending upon how the account manager team feels it's best to work with that customer, some prefer text, some prefer Teams, some prefer phone calls, some prefer
Sure.
email. And the account manager knows all that stuff.
Right.
But as a part of the security awareness package that we offer, we're now extending a human eyeball. I'm calling it the human eyeball. Uh, and
Eyes on
that's for,
glass.
yeah, and that's for somebody to be able to call our yes person, our liaison, whatever, and be like, hey, just so you know, or contact, right? Because it depends on how the customer wants to be contacted. But I want a record that Tracy reached out in July because Charles and Chris have not taken their test. And
This is a
I
CIA call.
absolutely and I've armed him with a little thing that says, "Hey, most cyber insurance carriers require you to have security awareness training. God forbid you have a breach.
Right.
This is an exclusion criteria.
Right.
So we want to make sure that you guys are covered. I we can't make your employees do this test. You have to do it. HR may need to get involved. The CEO may need to say, "Hey, do this or else," right? Because the current way is broken. So
Well, the current way is not being followed. So this is where people are failing
yes,
the process, to your point, right? So this reminds me, I don't know if you remember back in the day when we started really diving into Bright Gauge. And I don't know if you remember when we went to Wheelhouse, one of the clients wanted a help desk view that showed when they wanted to have their own view of like a correlation of when help desk tickets started to open at a high frequency rate on any given day
yep,
against close rate. And, it took us a while to understand what they were really looking for, which was, do we have a problem on our end that we have put on you because of the way tickets are being opened that make it near impossible to solve? I feel like you mentioned like, okay, now I'm going to send yet another email to somebody at this client organization to help solve this people failing a process, and yet we're still using what one could argue is the most uh, clunky, burdensome form of communication because we have to filter constantly the noise from, I mean, Outlook added focus to your inbox. It's like, dude, why do I need focus on my inbox? I should only be getting stuff in my inbox that's relevant that I should be reading, right? And yet quite
yep,
the opposite is true. So it that's what made me think of like you almost think like if there was a dashboard that they could have bookmarked on their computer that hey, on Monday the task that you have is to just go check your dashboard that shows you where your staff is at because you're basically giving them visibility to their risk profile for things like, potentially compromising on what they agreed to with their cyber insurance.
yeah. And so far the feedback has been amazing. And it's like, oh my God, thank you. I didn't know how to. Somebody literally said, I didn't know what the hell the email was that you guys kept sending. And I'm like, well, it's the Tattletale report, but they didn't have the context to understand it. So Going forward, I have a feeling as the months progress,
Sure.
these calls are A, not going to need to happen because everybody will be caught up, or at least now they'll understand the context,
And you
right?
may even
Like,
get the questions of like, hey, are you sure this is all we should be doing? Like, because you know,
absolutely.
so I also think that, and I think I was telling you this earlier about my experience of having my own security training that I'm supposed to go through, and it started with the title being, "Hi Chris, you have a training course waiting for you." Okay, how long is it going to wait?
Yeah.
Well, lo and behold, I found out it only waits for 2 weeks before it expires. But the way it's written is it says that you've been invited to take part in. Like, ooh, like I'm special, like VIP. But what if I don't care or don't want to do it? It didn't come across to me as something that I have to do. It doesn't tell me why I have to do it, nor does it give me any context as to why this should be important to me. And I think that kind of goes back to your point of like not even really clearly understanding the point of the email for what they were supposed to do with it, automated or not, really had nothing to do with you. It just was an assumption that they should recognize this email came from Showtech and they should follow its instructions.
Absolutely. And it does work, right? And I get it. Everyone's like, oh, security awareness training. No, but it does work.
Right.
So let me tell you kind of a fun story. We have a brand new employee here, like new to the industry, just graduated college, right? Like super new, right? Eager, ready to
Is
go.
it one of your children?
No, no, it
Oh,
is not.
okay.
Um,
So
and
not that old.
no, 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 we're talking like I don't know, 20 something, like low 20s. Uh,
Okay.
but this is officially her first real job, right? Because she
Okay.
just graduated college. And she walks into my office the other day and she shows me her phone. And it says and it has, hey, this is our CEO's name, Carrie. Hey, it's Carrie. Do you have time to talk? There's something I want to talk to you about. And she walks up to me and she goes, this is smishing, right? And I like I kind of like stood at her because I was kind of shocked. I'm like, how do you know what smishing is? Like, it didn't even dawn
It's
on me.
it's now freshman orientation in college.
No, she literally says to me, remember I took your security awareness training, and there's a whole section
Yeah.
on people faking text, and they call it smishing. She
Yeah.
goes, this is smishing, right? And I was like, well, yeah, it is. And I was like so taken aback that the brand new person to the business world who has taken the test and passed
Yeah.
can now identify a threat coming to her company issued cell phone, right? And I was like I had a proud papa moment there, right? Like
Yeah.
it's working. Right? Like, oh my God,
Well,
it's actually working.
it worked with her, right?
With
And
her,
and
yes.
I think there's something to extract from that. That's I think part of the challenge that we have. You and I have been doing this more than a couple of years since college. And if we look at the patterns that we have had to adapt to that were part of our corporate work experience, email and texting and the Slack and the Teams tools that, when you and I were at Untangled, we didn't have all of those things. Like we had very containerized communication paths that were limited to those tools. We didn't have APIs connecting all the stuff together. Stuff just didn't show up on your cell phone just because, and a lot of the stuff didn't have mobile versions of it. It makes me wonder if I looked at it through the lens of all of us taking the training, do all of us respond the same way, given that, we've become desensitized to a lot of this stuff because the training largely hasn't changed. The training has largely been like, watch out for these things. I
Yep.
liked your example of Walmart and saying, the physical, like, unless you know this person, like 10 years ago, you'd have been like, what are you talking about? Like, physical person, like we're talking about a gift card. Like I only give out gift cards at Christmas time to my staff, right? Like it hadn't been experienced on a broad scale where lots of people had been impacted by it. So the context for a lot of these warning systems, without context until it happens, you just kind of ignore it or I don't know. I always look at them like, oh, this is another simulation, delete.
Yeah. And you know, going back to the it's working. I mean, it worked this one time, right?
Sure.
So, the idea here is we need to keep on that cadence, keep the information coming fresh, because just because you took the test doesn't mean you're not going to fall for something down the road,
Yeah,
right? It's
definitely.
it's more of a continual thing. But what this employee doesn't know is we have our first Friday meeting coming up, and she's going to get a thing. I don't know what the thing is.
Maybe
I'm gonna
like a stack of Amazon gift cards for $5 a piece.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna print something like on my printer, on my 3D printer,
Okay.
just as like an award or
Yeah.
something, right? Like I don't know, like a spyglass or something like that. Like you caught it.
Yeah.
Something to make a big deal about it. Because man, let me tell you, now when she talks to customers, she's on the sales team. She's like, let me tell you about our security awareness training.
Yeah.
I'm new to the industry, and I
Yeah.
was able to identify like she has a real world story,
Yeah. I
right?
like the spyglass idea.
Yeah, but nobody wants to hear speeds and feeds, right? They want to
No.
hear real world stories. So she has a perfect story to tell, and we don't really sell security awareness. It's kind of part of our package now, but it all shows to the value of what we bring to the customer. And I think that's a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
And the takeaway I would want other MSPs to kind of take from the session that we're talking about is if you're thinking, and this was news to us, if you're thinking that your customers are reading and understanding the automated messages that they're getting, you may want to think again. Um, I would recommend you analyze your security awareness structure, how you report to them who hasn't taken the test, and maybe build it into your account management team. Give them some responsibility here to be like to help nudge, account management, customer success, whatever you want to call it. Um, because what happens? God forbid that customer does have a breach. They've been paying you for that security awareness offer for 5 years,
Yeah.
but you did nothing to ensure that they were actually doing the thing,
Well, and
right?
and I yeah, there's a responsibility matrix here, right? That doesn't truly fall on in its entirety on Showtech. But I think there's something really interesting that comes along with this, and it was kind of something that I've been thinking about as we've been going through our conversation, and that's the broader picture. So we've been talking largely about security awareness training and that whole like automated process, but like if we blow this up a little bit and go further out and we start looking at like account management or billing and HR and hey we're onboarding new employees and you're sending them like directions for what needs to happen for that user to get their account set up and certain things along those lines. It starts to make me think about, well, what if that were to get impersonated? Like, how are we educating them on things like, hey, you hired a new employee and you got this email. And like, well, did you hire a new employee? Like, but because we've been so entrenched with using email for that communication, I almost wonder like, has the giant that or the elephant in the room become something that we need to start trying to push the elephant out of the room and change up how we're doing these communications with our clients.
Yeah, and forcing the conversation to happen, right? Because
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, if you're not going to take like we'll use security awareness, if you're not going to take it seriously and you're not going to mandate your employees to do it,
Yeah.
why have it? Why
Why pay
spend,
for it?
right? Or even if I'm giving it away, I'm just going to turn it off,
Well, it's the whole
right?
insurance question, right? And we were talking about this earlier on our other call, the secure outcomes call, and I brought up, the cyber hygiene that clients should be expecting their MSPs to deliver on. And I think this kind of goes into that, but there's a caveat. If the client doesn't take ownership and hold the MSP accountable on the things that they should be getting, well, what about the other direction, right? I mean, the reason that you're in the room is because you provide them with services that they can't do on their own. So why would you not take the responsibility to ensure that they're getting done?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'd almost say stop right there, but So what other forms of communication are you? So you mentioned we touched on it a little bit. Obviously now you're doing a human directed email to a client contact as opposed to the automated system kicking out the noise maybe.
Well, it's still going to kick out the noise and stuff, but it's kind of like a forced touch for our
Right.
account team to be able to, hey, I wanted to see if you have any questions on that email you got, right? Like this one's kind of important. I don't care if they don't look at the
Every
whatever
single one.
report we send
Yeah,
them, right? But when it comes to something that is an exclusion criteria for their insurance,
sure.
I think that's something that as Showtech we were taking a little more stricter stance on than we have in the past.
So to some extent, this is like a risk profile. And if you, as the MSP, looked at your client portfolio, and let's just say let's say hypothetically you were doing the security awareness training to all of your clients, where are your, you know, risks, right? Okay, so we've got, we're seeing 30% across the board. Well, that's not a good percentage. Like we got to get this up to like at least 80% success rate to start feeling good that you are protecting yourself, right? Like, I mean, there's things that they could do that would involve like, yep, we're not going to get paid by that client because they thought it was Showtech and they cut them the $250,000 check. And even though they still owe us money, we're not getting it anytime soon.
Well, I can see the headline now, right? Customer sues MSP because they feel MSP failed to mandate them take their test, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Like I can, but I have documentation. We have sent it to you every month. We have sent it to the employees. It's all recorded. But I want to try to avoid a potential issue. And I get it. I know the security awareness training isn't going to stop the attack. And dare I say it is a checkbox with the insurance, but if it helps one person one time, I mean that's a win in my book.
Yeah, and I think we have to remember that one directional, one-sided communication is not communication. That's just a bulletin board. That's just an FYI. It can become noise very quickly. So to your touch point, you're forcing them to engage back with you on what is or isn't working. Like I could see scenarios where it's like, well, maybe we need to adjust the subject line on an email. Maybe it was just too close to something else they get that
Yep.
they've been ignoring for months, or their previous MSP's awareness training happens to be the exact same thing. No one bothered to change the template. I think there's plenty of scenarios that come to mind of like we failed them out of the box on expectations without even thinking about it because we were so used to this is the process, right? Like this onboarded the client, kicked off the learning path, and I mean we've seen it like, and this is no slam on any of the platforms that are out there, but like one of the things that if I was onboarding you with Cyberhood platform, one of the first things I have as an option is a checkbox that says for every employee that gets added to this platform, they automatically get enrolled in their learning series, and I never have to interact with it. Does this employee remotely know why they're getting this email?
Yeah.
I mean, where's that engagement? I think to your point, like that conversation with that point of contact, your champion, the yes person, from where I'm sitting, I would think that that onboarding process with that individual has a lot more at stake. Having what you've shared with me about the maybe the emails aren't getting checked, the emails are being ignored, and the one person that can change all of that did not get that sort of like, by the way, these are your burdens of responsibility as part of this new arrangement that you have with Showtech. It's not just because we call you when we're not getting paid, or you call us when the printer's not working. Like you should also be calling us when you're like, hey, I got 4 employees that still haven't done any of their training, and I'm not sure exactly what to do. These are good employees. Let's take a look and see what's being missed. Why are they not doing it? Maybe it's something that has nothing to do with, insubordination. It's like, oh, I'm not getting any emails. Well, it says you are.
Yeah.
Here's my inbox. I've never gotten these emails before. And I actually had that happen with something I was doing with ConnectWise. For some reason, every time the email would come, it never made it to my inbox ever. They had a
Yep.
typo. They had a typo in my email address.
Yeah.
So, well, I think we've buried this one. I think the thing that I am hearing is that we've got to do better and stop taking the communications that we send out to our clients and just assume that they work because no one has said anything.
Yep, 100%.
So are you seeing that? I know you executed this with, are you executing this with all clients all at once as part of your process? Or like, was it one client that pointed out to you like this isn't working? Like how did that come about? I don't know that we covered that well.
So here's what uncovered it. Uh, a customer had a B word, right? Had a breach, where they fell for an attack,
Okay.
and in speaking with the owner, I'm like, he goes, hey, the owner literally said, hey, I wonder when did he take his test? Like when did he take his security awareness? He goes, I know it's not like a thing. I'm just curious when this employee took their security awareness training because I want to ask him about it. And I was like, I don't know. I will have to look. And he hadn't.
Gotcha.
So that employee has been around a couple years and they only became a customer of ours, several months ago.
Got it.
But but on the customer side too, they realized that I had sent them an email that says, "Hey, make sure you tell your customers this." And I gave them a blurb. We have partnered with Showtech for security awareness training, and they never sent that. So they actually never told their employees to do the thing.
Okay.
So it's kind of a bit of our fault for not like pushing the agenda, and it's a bit of their fault for not again pushing the agenda. Uh, let's put it this way: that CEO sent out an email and said everybody will have their security awareness training done by Friday, or else you get to meet with me, being the CEO. It
Right.
it goes back to when you and I joked, the free lunch with Charles is never a good thing,
Right.
right?
I'd
Or
like to take you to
usually is not a
lunch.
good thing.
Where are we
Yeah.
going? That's not important. What's important is that your lunch is
Yeah.
free. What comes with it? That's what you should be worried about.
Yeah. I mean, I can't touch their mouse, right? For them. Uh,
That would actually be awkward and uncomfortable and probably in a conversation
totally.
with HR. Yeah.
Totally. But if if they're not being told by their team to do the thing, they're not going to do the thing. They're busy. They got things to do, right? They got their customers to serve. Nobody wants to take an hour-long security test, right?
No.
But we have to.
Well, I
It's
think this comes
it's
back to priorities. And I think that if the organization doesn't have a culture and a strategy that aligns with the governance of the company, then the things that are, quote, not articulated as core to the organization's success will either get ignored or they will just, intentionally, fail to do them because they prioritized other things in front of it.
yep, absolutely.
I I think that if it was me and I was looking at if I was a client to an MSP today and I had some of these things that I know now, one of the things that I would want to have in place immediately is that there's an hour that's probably broken out into two 30-minute sections somewhere in the morning and somewhere near end of day that says these are things I want you to prioritize to do during that window. I know there's other things that will get in the way. I know things happen and obviously there's exceptions, but if they don't intentionally start adding, like I think it's crazy. I would say ludicrous, but I feel like I've said that too many times. Um, to say that, employees should have to do education outside of work hours. Like if you want them to be better employees, you have to give them windows to earn or to, pursue some of that learning that just can't just happen outside of working hours.
Yep.
Should employees do things outside of working hours? Yes, fine. But I think you have to prioritize even during the normal workday to do some of that.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean our training is split up into like six chunks at about 10 minutes each.
Yeah.
So in theory, you can get it done in a couple days, right? Or just hammer through it in 1 hour.
It makes me think though that because of that, that there should be, if you started to think about this from the perspective of a more frequent cadence. So like your 10-minute videos, if you were to stretch those out, you could say that that's going to be over a 6 week period of time, right? Um, so, 6 10-minute courses, right? So now we're 6 weeks in. So what if you had 10-minute courses, basically all 52 weeks or roughly 50 of the weeks of the year? You are creating a habit once a year, I think it's hard to have employees remember in 11 months, I'm going to have to do this 6, 10 minute courses
For
again.
sure. For
And I
sure.
think, and I think that's part of the change we're seeing, right? The demand for what you're providing is increasing. So the cadence and those other pieces, I think, are just a natural byproduct of, hey, we have to do this more often than once a year. And that's not
Yep.
you to drive, it's the client to recognize the importance of doing it, just like your employee pointing out, hey, smishing, like, hasn't been there long enough. Depending on how long, she's been with the company, would she too miss it because it's not a habitual process that happens on a frequency that keeps putting it back in front of her?
Well, and it also goes back to how do I normally communicate with this person, right?
Sure.
So Carrie doesn't text, right? He
Right.
uses Teams. So it didn't come through Teams. It didn't have his caller ID. It had some crazy
Right.
name. Like it's just there were so many red flags.
Right.
So, but
But
you know,
and that's a good one to point out. And I think the secondary would be, how well are you or how well are we communicating? Like, hey, the habit of Charles communicating with staff is not through and fill in the blank. I will always use these mechanisms to avoid it being not me.
yep, for sure.
Yeah. Wow. So, overload of email communication obviously was one. The second piece was making sure that you're checking in with the client to make sure that the emails that are being sent in an automated fashion are in fact being read and actions are being taken. And the third one is don't assume that what the client has signed up for and the execution is going to happen unless it's been clearly articulated what the action items are to the point of contact to kick those things off. Did I miss any?
No, I think that's it. I think it's good. It's a good list.
Well, there you go. If you've been paying attention, hopefully you got something out of this. This has been an episode of MSP 1337. Thanks and have a great week.